Sun visor clips and door switches, oh my. Back for another one, guys. So I've ordered some parts for my Maserati, and in an effort to kind of improve this car and to make it a little bit better over time, I fixed some of the broken stuff, you know, little things. It's nothing major. This car's only got 20,000 miles on it, so there's really not a lot wrong with it. But there's little things, like, for example, on the driver's side, I started noticing this, and this is a common problem. So like on the window switches, so for example, you can clearly feel it click up and down. Now this one's starting to get a little bit, oh, it just broke, awesome. This one too, they're kind of wobbly, all right? The plastic in there gets, it just breaks basically over time. The window switches will still work, but it just feels like garbage. So essentially what I'm gonna do is I ordered some parts online for that. And then also, let me show you, and you guys probably already know about this if you've got a GranTurismo, this is a common thing too. So when you're in the car, if you've got like the sun visors, okay, you can see like they just kind of tend to sit here like I think they're supposed to be up here like most cars, but they just kind of sag, and over time they're gonna fall and they're not gonna stay up, right? They're gonna be like this, which kind of sucks, right? It's not ideal. So I ended up looking around online, and I found a company out there that 3D prints parts for little fixes. Like, so for the sun visors, they actually make little clips that will bolt in place there and help keep those up like they're supposed to be. And it's a company called Exotic Specialty Parts. I ordered these online. These guys, small company. Awesome that they even do this to begin with. And I just wanted to kind of share this with you and show you some of these parts, and then I'll go over installing these on the car so you can see how that's done, what it looks like after it's done, and what the process is, especially for those window switches, because it's just cheap from the factory. So, you know, anything that fixes those where you don't have to buy a whole new switch assembly, awesome, right? You reuse what you have, right? So this is what's in the box, right? So that is pretty snazzy. That's really cool. Check these guys out, Exotic Specialty Parts, okay? All right, so I have the sun visor clip kit, okay? These are 3D printed. Comes with all the hardware here to put these on, and we're gonna go over how to put those on, and I'll show you guys. So we have those, and then also we have, it looks like some super glue, and then these little plastic pieces that are here to fix those window switches, and it comes with 4. So you can fix all of them because they're all gonna have that problem. So this is gonna keep the car feeling nice and new on the switches, where it's not, you know, feeling kind of just sloppy and, you know, the wobbly around with the switches. It's all in an effort to kind of keep the car in good shape, keep it running, keep it feeling new and tight and all that stuff, which is kind of what everybody wants to do, right? Because it's a good looking car, right? And it performs well. It should also feel nice as well on the inside. So, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and show you this stuff and see, I think maybe we'll start with like the sun visor clips, because that's probably the easier one to do here. The other one's a little more involved, right? So those window switches, I'd have to look. I'm not entirely sure because I've not pulled a door panel off one of those before, but I kind of know how it works, and I think it's gonna be a little bit more involved. I think what's gonna have to happen is I am gonna have to pull the door panel off just to get and unbolt the switch assembly to pull it out of the door panel itself, to gain access to the switches so I can repair them. I don't know that for sure, okay? So we're gonna find out. But those sun visor clips, easy enough to do, you know. I'll probably go ahead and I think all you're really gonna need is like let me look. Before I start spouting off garbage out of my mouth without really looking at it, let me take a look at it. And of course I can't see it because there's trim covers on it, but maybe if I'm lucky, I can pop this off by hand without breaking something and then having to go to the dealer to buy something new again. I can't get it off of there, but I'm willing to bet, and you'll see in the video, I'm willing to bet it's gonna be like a Phillips screwdriver, right? To get that to come off. And it's probably something you're gonna wanna use with it by hand. Don't use an electric, you know, drill or something like that with a screwdriver bit. Obviously not a good idea, right? But let's go ahead and get started, and I'll kind of show you this whole process for both of these, and let's see if we can get this thing all fixed up. All right, so. Okay, we've got some basic instructions here. We've also got 2 clips, obviously, for each sun visor. And then it looks like these might be like spacers of sorts that go on here. We'll take a look at that with the instructions. But let's go see if we can go put these on with the car. All right, so this will be a little interesting. We're gonna see how this angle works. Hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing here. So we're gonna pull this down and move this out of the way. This is what you're after right here, okay? Let's get a trim tool and see if we can pop something out here. Yeah, just pops off to the side. And yes, that's just a Phillips screw. So, really, really simple. Okay. You have your new clip, or bracket rather, from Exotic Specialty Parts. You have your original sun visor holder. See, looks kind of like this. Hole in the center. On the back side, it's got like a locating pin, and this is where the screw actually goes through. It goes in there, into the, you know, where it mounts originally. So essentially what you do, it kind of lines up with this. So you're going to put the locating pin in the hole, and this is interference fit, so it's tight. It's not going to come out, which is awesome. That's how you should properly engineer a part. Also, looks like, let's see. Take the spacer, and it goes into the rear side of the clip. It says right here, spacer like this. So this is how it is. Pushing that in, it's interference fit as well. Awesome. That's how it should be designed. That's pretty much it. So this is what it looks like assembled. It's all said and done. Just looking at those instructions they provided there. Pieces pushed into here. So now you basically just reinstall using your original mounting hardware. The bolt goes like this in here. That's a little hard to get through. I'll have to, there we go. And it should screw back in. So okay, that seems pretty sturdy to me. We're going to push this tab back on that locks in place, the original. Let's make sure that's in there. Okay, and then that is fantastic. So now I guess when you want to use this, you pull straight out to get past the clip, and then you can fold down and use it the way you want to use it. I'm really happy with that. This makes me feel a million times better. And these are actually, let me bring this up and show you. Look at this. It's actually holding up here now, up at the top, which is where it should be in my eyes. Let's go ahead and do the driver's side real quick. Pop this thing out, rotate. Okay, got access to the Phillips screw here. Comes right off, really clean, simple, and easy. Okay, now, remember we take the bracket itself and we find the locating pin on here and we stick it into the matching holes. Remember it's interference fit like I mentioned in the first one we just did. Presses in there, everything looks good, right? It's all flush as much as it goes. Take your spacer here that's provided. This goes into the backside like this. So we're gonna go, remember that's interference fit a little bit, it's really tight. Okay, totally assembled. It's on there. We're gonna go ahead and put our screw through here first to start. That's probably not, there's a little piece of material. Okay, now reinstall. So all right, I think that's in there tight enough. We'll put the factory clip back on here, put it in place. Okay, seems to be in there. And then slide our clip back in place here. All done. So now when you need to use it, pull it out, pull it down, do what you need to do. Everything's back in place. Awesome fix. Thank you, Exotic Specialty Parts. Good stuff. Let's move on to the door panels and see what we can get resolved there. All right, so now I'm gonna show you guys where these actual fasteners are on the door panel and what tools you're gonna need for it. There's not a lot on there. I think it's like 6 hex fasteners and 2 Phillips screws, if I'm not mistaken. Let me kind of give you an overview real quick of where those are on the door panel and kind of show you how to take those off, the whole door panel in general. I've already taken this off, okay? It looks like this, all right? This is the panel I told you, or the little trim piece that I told you to be extremely careful with because it's pretty easy to break. So when you take this thing off, you want to pry along this edge here. There's like a part here that snaps in here kind of, and you'll see these two, this and this. So pop that out first, and it's gonna be like this kind of, okay? Sort of. And then you want a trim tool to kind of push in here and then just pull this thing straight off, but be careful, right? This right here, this metal tab that's on here, that's on this plastic little piece, this is what breaks off. So just be careful of this. I wouldn't want to find out how much this costs. I'm sure matching it color-wise would be a pain in the butt because, you know, there's different colors and variations with these, I'm pretty sure. But anyhow, don't break it, right? Also, behind here, if you look behind here, there's a rubber cover that normally covers this little hole here that has access to this Allen bolt, okay? It looks like this. Very easy to take off with your fingernail or just to, like, you know, pull off. So that's 2. So 1 here, 2 here, and then you've got, I believe there are 3 behind this whole trim piece here, okay? Use a trim tool to take this off. This comes off pretty easy. It just kind of snaps in place. So there should be 3 behind here. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then also this tweeter cover has to come off. Pry from here, starting with a trim tool or whatnot. And then I think there's also 2 clips or something there, but that comes off pretty easy. There is another fastener under here that's like that, another hex bolt. You've got 1, you've got 2 behind the door, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now there's also 2 Phillips screws. So if you look under here, there they are, okay? Once you have that all off, you know, you're gonna wanna pry, or once you have all the fasteners removed, you're gonna wanna pry, you know, starting probably here-ish, all the way down, underneath, all the way around to the other edge, to get it loose from the door itself, okay? And then ultimately, I think there are, I don't know exactly how many, but I think there's 2 or 3 clips behind here, okay? You'll be able to pop this thing forward, but ultimately you have to lift up and then pull forward, okay? But that should take it off. And you probably also want to lower this just to make it a little easier for you. So once you get in there and you take that door panel off, you're gonna see a vapor barrier, a piece of plastic that's like, it's got this black glue that kind of holds it to the door, okay? And essentially what that's doing is it's a water barrier, and water and vapor, right, barrier. So if you wash your car or if you're caught in the rain or whatever, this is what's gonna keep the moisture from coming inside your car, okay? And in through your door panel and stuff and into your floor. So just make sure that when you're careful not to poke holes in that or rip it out or anything like that, it needs to be there for a reason, okay? So just a little tip, if it's damaged, there's ways, that, you know, I mean, you can go about fixing it, right? You can tape it up with something that's going to hold, that's going to be waterproof. That's a whole nother rabbit hole of an issue, right? Point is, just make sure that it's in good shape and that you don't put holes in it, right? Let's go ahead and take this thing off, and I'll show you how this is done in kind of a time lapse real quick. There was one casualty. I told you guys taking this thing off would be pretty easy, okay? Like, and this is a tweeter trim cover, all right? Mine was pretty brittle. So what happened is, you can see possibly here, yeah, it broke. It didn't fully break, but it definitely snapped here. And so now I can't put this thing back on. I just hopped on though. And if you look, if you run into this like I just did, there is a part number right in there that you can look up. And I just looked it up. I found one online from Alpine Performance, which is Exotic Specialties Superstore or something like that. It was like $65, okay? And I think all said and done with shipping, it all came out to about $98. Not a cheap thing, by the way, right? Obviously, trim cover, sucks that it broke, but it is what it is, right? There's gonna be little things like this. On the door panel, there is a side impact airbag, okay? Let me show you right here, okay? This is the explosive charge, basically, that inflates the airbag at the top. Be careful disconnecting that. Don't do anything stupid. Just pinch, pull the connector off, and be done with it, okay? If you're really worried about that and you don't want to mess with this kind of stuff, disconnect the battery. That's a really safe thing to do. And in fact, I probably should have done that before I did this, but here we are. It's off. We're taking the whole switch assembly out, right? Like I said, and we're going to repair the switches, and we're going to put that whole switch assembly module back into the door panel, bolt everything back on, and put it back onto the car, okay? This is not an easy entry-level thing to do, okay? Pulling the door panel off, you risk breaking parts. You risk popping that airbag if you're not careful, if you're not just disconnecting it and being careful. If you're messing around, plugging it in and out, cause some problems potentially. What I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna throw the camera on a stand here, and then we're gonna go ahead and take this out, and I'll kind of show you, and then we'll disassemble the switch module itself on the bench over in my toolbox or something. And I'll kind of show you, and we'll put this thing together, and then we'll kind of go through it. Like I said, this is not an easy process. This is probably a medium if you've never messed with this kind of stuff before. But I figure I'm going to show you guys anyway so you can see what's all involved in it, okay? There's quite a bit of labor, so. another little thing. When I took off this trim panel, this is like the kind of like the armrest piece or whatever that surrounds the switch, right? You'll notice that it's got these little gold pressed in inserts, right? That have threads, or brass rather, actually. Here's one that came out. I've got it right here. It screws in, but I don't know if it's gonna hold. So what I'm gonna end up probably having to do is get some JB Weld or some epoxy of some sorts and thread this back in there, and then just let it cure. It's probably fine, but it's just something to know that when I started backing out the screw, the hex fastener, it didn't want to come out all the way. So it just kind of stayed in there because it was spinning because the brass fastener had come out of the plastic. So these are just the things that I'm running into while I'm taking this door panel off. So I'm not having the best of luck so far. This is the module. Let me show you what this thing looks like. Right here. This is what bolts into the inside of the door. That's tucked in there. And if you are not careful pulling stuff off like this, some of these other little things, if you aren't careful, super careful, you are gonna break this thing. And it's probably gonna cost you a small fortune. So just be careful. If you're going in thinking that, you know, this little kit's gonna be super simple, you got another thing coming. Okay, I already see what happens because I can see the piece. That's what happens. That little white piece that you see right here, oh no, don't fall in there, okay, is actually that thing right there. The other side, this is what happens to these switches, okay? So basically this piece breaks off and these new pieces appear to, from my understanding, probably slide onto here and give you that rocker point again that you basically have that's broken now. Okay, that's not so hard. I think what we're probably gonna have to do though is, my guess is we're probably gonna have to like sand this a little bit to slide these plastic pieces over on top of here, which doesn't look too terrible. So that makes a lot of sense, okay? Let's take this one off. If I can get it off without breaking the hell out of it. Yep, same thing. Same exact thing. That's what happens, guys. These little pivot points here, that's what breaks. So we're basically giving it new pivot points. And that should be a permanent fix, hopefully. While we're in here, I'm gonna clean these buttons because they're nasty and sticky. And since I have it apart, I'm just gonna do it. And then I'll have to do the rest of the car slowly as I get there. But let's go ahead and sand these down or fit these parts. And after we clean this stuff up, and let's see if we can get this all reassembled and put back in on the door panel. Well, so some bad luck struck. I went to test fit the exotic specialty parts little piece after I'd trimmed stuff, and then I pulled it off and I was trimming it again to kind of get it to fit perfectly on there, and I ended up breaking my switch. So These switches, honestly, it really didn't take much to break that switch. So they're just so brittle because this car's been either sitting in the heat prior to where, me owning it, or also the fact that this car is in Texas, right? It's hot, right? It's hot here. So the switches are just brittle. There's not much I can do about that. They were gonna break one way or another. And unfortunately, since they've broken once and I'm repairing the tabs on them, and I was in there again trying to, trim some stuff, and then the rest of the switch broke, there's no point in basically fixing either one of those anymore at this point, which kind of sucks because I was really looking forward to using those exotic specialty parts pieces, those 3D printed parts to fix those switches. But like I said, if they're so brittle that they're just falling apart, then I just need to flat out replace them. Now, fortunately, I did a quick search online, looked around, and I did find that somebody is selling them on Amazon right now. And they're 20 bucks a piece, 20 or $21, okay? So I quickly ordered 2 of those. I think it was about $40, $42 or something, add some shipping and tax and stuff on top, so a couple bucks extra. And I've got 2 brand new switches, and those should be here in, I don't know, 1 to 5 days, about a week or less, right? So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and get those in the mail, and I'll put those back on here, and we will go ahead and reassemble everything, clean it all up, and put everything back together, and I'll let you know how those work. So I'm kind of bummed that I didn't get to use the exotic specialty parts, those pieces that I had ordered, but like I said, it logically makes no sense to continue forward at this point. If one of those is so brittle that it's gonna break, the other one is right behind it. Like, that's just kind of it's a fact. Later on, when you go to put this thing on, I know this is a tip now and we haven't even gotten through, fixing some of the stuff, but something to think about. When you go to put this thing back on, look right here. You've got these yellow push pins, so to speak, or these trim pins, right, for the door panel. They don't really fall out, but they move around a lot. But there's these black little felt washers that are on here all the way around. Make sure you take those off the door. I can almost guarantee you when you pull this panel off, you're gonna lose 1, 2, maybe 3, who knows? There's a couple that they'll still be stuck to the door itself. So you're gonna wanna scour the door and take those off, make sure they get back onto those push pins, because when you push this whole door panel back on and you reinstall it carefully, I might add, if you don't have those felt little washers there on those fasteners, those little plastic fasteners, you're basically gonna end up with rattles in your door, and it's gonna drive you nuts, and then you're gonna be ripping your door panel off again, which means there's now the potential for you to break more stuff as you're taking it back off again for a second time or third, or hopefully you're not getting into it that much, but you get the point, right? So I'm gonna show you, let me grab my coffee here real quick. We've already refinished one of the panels, okay? So I took the switch cover right here, and as you guys know, you might be able to kind of see this here. I've kind of cleaned it up pretty good. It's a little shiny. All that nasty, sticky crap is off of there. I was gonna do a video on this, and this is kind of like the short version of it, so to speak. But basically what you want, rubbing alcohol, 70% isopropyl. This works wonders. A lot of people forget that rubbing alcohol has really, really good cleaning properties. It will thin out that rubberized coating, and you can just rub it off with like a paper towel. You have to kind of saturate the paper towel so it's kind of soaked to kind of do that, and it's going to take a bunch of passes, right? And you're going to end up making a bunch of those black little like just boogers that come off of it basically, and it's going to take several iterations of it. It's not going to happen immediately when you just wipe over it once. So yes, rubbing alcohol works great. It cleans it up pretty good. A lot of you guys I think have used a few other things like Goo Gone and I think Neutrogena wipes and stuff like that, face care product stuff, probably stolen from your wife's side of the bathroom or something, or their drawers. Anyway, so rubbing alcohol works great. That's one good thing that you can use. I still have to, let me lift this door panel up here. I still have to clean up this right here, okay? This thing also is nasty. And then I gotta figure out if this is just sticky crap that got all over the door handle, the metal door handle piece there. And it looks like that's what that is. But I'm gonna take those 2 pieces out, put them on the bench here, and see if we can clean those up. So essentially, pulling off the door panel, it kind of sucks because we're going in for switches, but at the same time, there's a bunch of other stuff that's in the way when you're doing this that while you're in there, you might as well do it. And that's a good and a bad thing, right? You're gonna run into like a multi-step thing, but at the same time, once you're done, now you've just done one section of the car, right? So obviously there's like vents and other trim panels and things in the car that you're gonna have to do when you get to that sticky buttons thing and you go to attack that. But if you do it like this systematically, if you know, hey, you got broken switches and you come in here and you do the sticky buttons at the same time on that one side on the door panel, killing two birds with one stone, kind of, right? You're already in there. So let's take this out and I'll show you the cleaning process. It's very simple, guys. There's no magic to this. It's just, it's literally just labor. Let's go ahead and get this process going. I'm gonna take the stuff off the door panel like I mentioned, and we're gonna start cleaning. Okay, as you can see, that was kind of a little bit tricky, but it wasn't too bad. I opted to take the entire piece out with the handle and the metal handle and the tan trim piece there with the wiring harness on it because, let me show you on the back, and I didn't really want to take this off, and I'll show you why. There's like a micro switch here, okay? And this is basically to detect when the door handle is pulled open. So like when you open this like this, there's the micro switch in there. Not sure if you could see that right by my thumb, but there's a micro switch and you can hear it. And essentially that is zip tied in place here perfectly. And that's how that looks like that's done from the factory. I don't want to disturb that. I mean, I'm sure I could cut those off and put it back, but I just don't want to mess with that. So we're going to leave it in place. We're going to clean the panel here as is and reinstall. When you take that trim panel off and you loosen those screws, it's going to feel stuck in there like it doesn't want to come off. So just, simply go ahead and, gently push on it around there and you'll see like right here, here's the hole where it came out. Gently push like here and like here and like here because of the mounting points, and try to like push it out. And you're going to end up pushing this side down first and then feeding it out through the front. Hey guys, it's been a few days. I just got the replacement switches in the mail. They look identical to the factory switches. I don't think they have the coating on them. These are clones, obviously, these new ones. And as you can see, they've got all the proper parts on them. Hopefully they're stronger, I don't know. I'm gonna go ahead and put these, a link to these in the description below so you guys can take a look at those. And if you need them, you can order them. In the meantime, I'm going to show you guys how this module comes apart so you don't break it. So basically to get this out, in order to get this cover that sits on top of here, like this, off, there's this right here. You've got a fastener. That has to come off so you can take this out, and then you can use a screwdriver to pop off on the side here, these little things. Mine are a little bit not so great a shape, but you kind of get the idea. Make sure you take that module out of this little enclosure, so to speak, this mounting bracket, before you start prying at stuff, or you're gonna break this thing. I had to do some filing on the plastic a little bit there on the passenger one, but if you take a look, maybe you can see here. It's not perfect, but it works. It worked great. Basically, I think what they did is they cloned one of the switches. They cloned like the driver's side switch. The passenger one is just a little bit different. So if you spend a little time with the file, you will fit that one in there also. Just make sure it moves and rocks back and forth clean and smooth, like the driver's side one. and you should be good to go. Just got all cleaned up with all the sticky stuff, so this should be good to go. We have the switches installed back on the panel. Everything's secured back in here, and we're gonna go mount this back into the door panel and get this thing back in the car. Job's complete. Let me go over the tools real quick to kind of show you here what you're going to need for this job. So trim tools, obviously, some Phillips screwdrivers. You probably don't need two sizes of it, but probably not going to hurt you. T25 Torx, 5mm hex drive, 3mm hex drive, 2.5mm hex drive, 1/4 drive ratchet with an extension, magnet for pulling out some of the screws and stuff that you unscrew with these when you're disassembling the door panel, and then obviously, you know, some little flat-headed screwdrivers to kind of help you, you know, take apart those trim panels and things like that, you know, as you're pulling the switch assembly apart. This is not a super easy one, guys. The process of replacing the switches is, but getting everything off of the car and the door panel without breaking things and being super careful, that's the stuff that actually, that's the more difficult part. If you like this stuff and it helps you out, please like and subscribe so that we can kind of keep bringing these videos to you and showing you this stuff. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything that you want to suggest, please leave some comments, let us know, and we'll get back to you, and we'll catch you guys next time.